and welcome to our garden here in Brittany in northwest France. My name is Jane. My husband Michael is behind the camera. We're early retirees, debt and mortgage free, British and living in Brittany. And today I'm going to tell you more about us and more about our life here, particularly on this land and where we live here in Brittany. So more to come. It's a really moody and foggy and atmospheric day here, and I'm standing on a bit of our land that you might find quite interesting. This bit of our land here is full of seeping springs. So this part of our land all winter long, and it rains the most in December here in Brittany. And it gets wetter and wetter and wetter. And as the month progresses, you really do feel yourself sinking and sinking and sinking into it. So this isn't going to be a bit that's going to be gardened very much. We have lots of dead trees behind us that just fall down in storms. So some of them will have to come down. And it's where we plan to plant willow. And willow's really good here because it soaks up all the water. It just grows, and in the winter it has lovely coloured stems. So that's our plan for this area, is to plant lots of willows. And also I'm going to turn myself around, and you can see here a lovely wall behind us and a car park behind us. This bit gets really sunny, so we're going to put some lovely flowering trees across those. So there's the plan. And if I go around, I'm going very slowly. And there behind me, you can see some of Huelgoat. And the name of our village is written Huelgoat. Huelgoat. So it looks like Huelgoat. But it's Breton, not French, Breton. And the pronunciation of that is Huelgoat, with a good spit out the T at the end, Huelgoat. And this is what Huelgoat is famous for. These huge rocks. They're all over the place. And the land that our house is on used to be a quarry. And it had a very humble address. It's just the quarry on Quarry Road. And our house was a house in the quarry. So let's go and have a look at those rocks. I thought I'd share with you our thrifty, temporary solution to our wood storage problem. We haven't cut down any trees here. All we've done here is clear the land of the fallen trees and cut them up. Obviously we need to keep them dry, we need to season them, and that's what we've done. So we have a temporary woodshed here, and behind it, here, is what was a little quarry manager's office. And you can see the house there, and all the tarpaulins are all covering wood. So it's a real temporary solution here. Mike built the shed, and the wood that you can see here, the wavy edged wood, was from out of our barn, because at one stage our barn was a sawmill. standing next to one of our giant granite boulders in our garden. To give you some perspective, these are taller than me, so the rocks are about 6.5 foot high, and they are about, let me think about that, I'm not very good at feet, I think they're about 2 meters high and about 8 meters wide. Don't know what that is in feet, I'm very sorry, I'm metric here in France. So that's how big they are. They are enormous. And in the day when this land, and all of this land around here, because I live on Route de Carrière, so I live on Quarry Road, all of this had these great big boulders here. And all they did was use jackhammers, and that was a double team. So guys would be hitting a big metal jack, and they would literally split the rocks. They would split these by hand, and then obviously in later years they used machinery to do it. And then one day they suddenly realised the value of these rocks and just said leave them alone, and they just stopped doing it. And then this land changed from being a quarry to something else, and I'll tell you more about that. Take a look here. So this part of our land here has a barn on it, and right up until 1985 it was a sawmill, a wood mill. So up until the late 60s this was a quarry, and then up until the mid to late 80s this was a sawmill. And when we bought this house, this was completely derelict. So it had, if you would understand me please, a barn within a barn. So there was a smaller barn with a bigger barn built around it, and the bigger barn built around it had completely fallen down, and we've had the smaller barn re-roofed. You can see it's not finished. We're still waiting on a builder to come finish what he started. So that's what this is. And if you think, well, what is this huge tower? That's what they build in France. So that's got a transformer in it, and this is made out of rebar, so reinforcing bars, and poured concrete. You'd need a nuclear bomb to take that down. That is going nowhere at all. So we're left with it. There's nothing I can do about it. I don't own it. EDF, Electricité de France, owned that, so I couldn't take it down if I wanted to. So that's what that tower was there. And if you imagine this big sawmill had its own power in, and it came in and then it went through a transformer and went through to there. So that's what that is. So that's more about the history of our land. And all the land that you can see behind me there, that is all grass. That was completely covered in fallen trees and small willow trees and brambles and bracken. It was all lumps and bumps, and it was also some kind of a rubbish dump. So what had to happen here is we had to have a big JCB. I know someone's going to say to me, what is a JCB? A JCB is a European type of digging tractor that has kind of like a snowplow thing on one side of it, which you shove the earth and scrape it, and obviously it digs. And I think in America you call that a backhoe. So it has a big digger on it, but it's a giant machine. And with all the land all around us, it took one of those machines 20 days to clear the land. So that gives you some impression of how derelict it is. We've still got some areas of the land that we haven't cleared. We're just leaving it like that, and it's kind of full of brash and it's full of fallen trees, and we'll leave them there, and over time they will eventually rot down. But we had to make the environmental decision that nothing left this site. So anything like old metal and things like that are buried 5 meters deep. There was a, excuse me, the house in its history was a bar for a while. So all around the rocks and all just below a wall, we found thousands of bottles. And again, they are buried again about 5 meters deep. So everything that was here is still here, but it is buried. So you can see that big space there. So we have a big lawn area in front of the house. So that's more about our land. So I know some of you are interested, so I thought I'd tell you more about our house. If you look at it, it's kind of being built in 3 sections. If you look at the middle, with a chimney on either side, that is the original 1-room Breton cottage. So they'd have lived, slept, eaten, washed, everything in the 1 room downstairs and slept upstairs, if they used upstairs at all. You'll see the flat roof extension on the side. See, it's got no roof, it's got flat roof. That's a modern extension. And on the other side, that is unknown. I'm really not sure about that. The stones at the base of it are old, but the top half of it has been built up in modern materials. So I think there was a lower building there and they built upon it. So if you can see over there, there's 2 doors. There's the main door to the main house, and this door is a room under the house that you can't get to the rest of the house from. So it's very, very much a basement. And that's a room that we use like a utility room. We keep a deep freeze in there. And it's where we're going to put a washing machine in the future. And the flat roof part over there, that's our kitchen. So the house has developed over time. You'll hear the cars going by. Our house is right by the road. So you saw the car go by then. So that's more about our house. I'm going to have to talk over the river here. The river is the boundary to our land, although we do own a little bit the other side, almost like a strip the other side. And you can see it's the river's really high at this time of year. As I said, December is the time we get the most rain here in Brittany. In the summer, this turns into a babbling brook, just a little stream, and this flat area down here is our favourite place to come and sit in the summer. It's our little seated summer area. And if I pan up, you can see the other side of the river is very steeply rising land, very typical of quarry lands, and more trees. So that's the boundary of our land. And as we're in Brittany, we are beautifully lush and green all year round. I'm down by the river, so I'll talk really loudly so you can hear me over the river. Now, lots of people ask us tons of questions about what led us to this house, what led us to this part of France. Okay, we're from the southwest of the UK, and the southwest of the UK is very close to the northwest of France. So for our holidays in the past, we always took the Brittany ferry from Plymouth to Roscoff and came on holiday to this part of the world. And this part of the world, Welguat, is on the journey home. You always pass it when you're going back to the ferry. And we were fascinated by the name. And we decided one day that we would pop by and have a look. And we were enchanted by this little village ever since. So that's how we found Welguat. More about how we found and bought this house. So, little backstory. We had previously bought a house in 2015 in the village of Welguat itself on quite a small house on quite a small residential road. It had absolutely no garden. It was perfect as a holiday home. And then in 2018, we decided that we were going to make that leap into early retirement, and we knew that that house was not going to be a long-term house. And we started looking for a project. And oh boy, did we find a project with this house. So we were scrolling through a website called Imanot. And Imanot is the Immobilier, the site that has all the houses for sale on it. And the most recent houses are first. And I think in this locality, there were about 75 pages. And this was the last house on the last page. So I actually scrolled through all of them. And I saw it was in Welgra. It didn't really give an address. But I went hunting for it. I thought, I can see what it looks like. If I walk around all the streets, I will find it. And this house is on the very edge of the village. It is the last but one house in the village. So the village is 1 kilometre in that direction. So we are on the edge of the village. And we found it. And it had a little sign on the gate saying, "À vendre." The man was selling it through a local law firm, the notaires, who sell houses as well. And as we were poking around and having a look, this little man popped out. He was living in this part. He was living in it, and he was a lovely gentleman, and we are in contact with him to this day. And the story goes, we bought this house. It wasn't fit to live in when we bought it. It had a new roof. It had water on site, and it had electricity to the site as well. But the rest of it needed complete renovation, and that's what happened. So it took Mike 8 months of working with somebody else, so 2 men, 8 months to completely renovate this house, and that's how it got to the state it's in now. Back where I started, down on the temporary utility area of our garden, where all our wood is stored. So what more can I tell you about the house? It is wood heated. It is 100 metres square, including all the bathrooms. There are 2 bathrooms, and they are tiny, and the basement and the kitchen. So that's 100 metres square. So it's not a very big house. It's a modest house by French standards. It's on a road at the end of a village. The land used to be industrial land. We are letting it heal. We are bringing it back to life. If you imagine, nobody's cut the grass. There was no grass. There were no lawns. It was just brambles, bracken and snakes when we came here. That's all it was. But it's a 10-year project. Financially, it's a 10-year project to do something to land like this. If we plant trees now, in 10 years' time, we might be able to sit and get some shade from them. It's a 10-year project to take some of the more trees down. We've got huge trees here that were planted as part of a plantation, and they've got tree beetles, and they're rotten, and they fall down in all the storms. So they have to come down. And financially, things can only be done bit by bit. We earn some money, we do some work. So there's some more information about our house. It's cold here. I'm going to go inside. I'm back indoors now, and I'm certainly glad to be, because it was so really cold outside today. Now I have something to ask of you, please. I don't normally do this, but I am going to do it today. I do know that more than half of you who watch regularly are not subscribers. So could I ask you please, it costs you nothing, to hit the little subscribe bell and get the notifications too so you don't miss our videos. We put out 3 videos every week and you do not want to miss them. If you're interested in thrifty living, saving money, living on a budget, or being retired in France, this is the channel for you. So go on, hit subscribe button. The other thing I'm going to ask you to do today is go on, like the video. The more likes we get, the more our videos get put out there and the more we can share with everybody. Now, I love your comments, so if you have a question to ask us about our life in France, go ahead and ask us. We're happy to answer your questions. Just leaves me to say thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Goodbye for now.